Kia whakawaia engari whakaorangia Mātou I te kino no hoki te rangatiratanga te kaha me te kororia
Hei mua koe ia mātou e ihoa. Hei tohi toi ia mātou mahi katoa. Ko koe ano hoki hei whakakaha ia mātou. Kia whai karoria ai koe ia mātou mahi katoa. He mea tamata, he mea mahi, he mea whakaoti I roto ia koe. Kia whiwhi ai hoki mātou ki te ora tonu. E te mea e atawhaitia nei e koe, ko ehu karaiti hoki tō mātou ariki. Āmini.
E te whānau no mai, haere mai. Ki tēnei kaupaka Taha Māori, no mai, haere mai, whakatau mai. No reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
That, of course, is the waiata that we have been learning the last couple of weeks. E te whānau a te karati, nau mai hoki mai. Kia koutou katoa mō tēnei rā, mō tēnei ata. Ko whiti te rā, the sun is up. Po kori kori te tinana, let the body move. Nō reira tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome back. That was the Angies, or the Anglican Māori Club. And that was last Thursday evening. They're preparing for a big gig at Eden Park this Saturday. So we had all the kapahaka people there from Tāmaki Makaurau practicing various songs. So I'm standing in the back taking this, and because you know all the actions, I didn't need to do it from the front. But this is that waiata that we've been practicing. It's a wonderful waiata. And I think what's lovely is I'm able to play it, so it's still relevant. It's not a waiata that's, you know, come out of the archives and it's got a whole lot of dust all over it. No, we are still using it today. So I encourage you to learn it, and just to go back to last week's recordings, for instance, you've got Tommy Haka and myself taking you through the actions. This is the longer version. You don't have to learn the longer version. But the shorter version is ample, more than enough, but it is still relevant today. So I just want to play it again, actually. So you see, when you get up and do a waiata, you have to have that many people with you. Only kidding. It's wonderful to be a part of the Roku, the Auckland Anglican Māori Club. My usual disclaimers, of course, not a reo teacher or a translator, and I don't hold the qualifications to do this. I continue to have my heart in it, and to manaaki you and encourage you to engage with Taha Māori and Te Reo Māori. The sections of liturgies we studied with Piho Pahori, just a reminder, they're not an approved translation and was used purely so that we could tell the story using a Māori lens and the thinking at the time when they were doing the translation. So please do not use them publicly. Recapping. Today is the last session, as you know, our 7th session in this series. So recapping, what have we actually learned? Well, we've actually learned quite a lot. And by the feedback that we received in our Taha Māori email, many people have got different things out of different sections of the series, in particular, the Long White Cloud, of course. We've learned the opening and closing karakia. And I stayed with those two prayers, as you know, the one that we used every week at the opening prayer. And I've done that deliberately because it's one that is still being used by Māori today in all settings, on formal, informal settings, informal settings, and meetings. And same with the closing prayer. And when you learn others, then you can incorporate those as well. But I encourage you to learn those particular ones for the use on any marae, in your whare karakia, or anywhere where you're delivering a karakia, then that's the ones that you can use and pull upon and reflect on. So they're there, all 7 weeks of them. So hopefully you'll be able to get it down packed. We went through all the vowel sounds, of course. The shortened vowel sound a, e, I, o, u, and the macronized vowel sound a, e, I, o, u. And we did all the combination of vowels. And we've tried to tackle the consonants, the R and the NG as well. And the T, which is something that I have to work on myself. The T is not a t. So we've done the vowel sounds. Again, you can go back on previous recordings to help you with that, particularly that kaumātua out at Ihumatao, which is a fun way. Do it with your grandchildren. Do it with your children even though they're adults. Stand in the kitchen some way before you feed them, put it that way. Before you give them lunch or dinner, they have to stand up and do ki mai Māori, ki mai a, ki mai e, ki mai I, ki mai u, ki mai o. There you go. They have to earn their lunch or their dinner at your house. Again, the recordings are available to you. We've done a wonderful exploration of the Eucharistic liturgies, Hākari Tapu. We've gone through the 476 and the 490, excluding the actual kaihapa itself, the Eucharistic prayer. We haven't done that. That's more specific for those who are actually priests at the moment, and for those who are in training or at DTP or any of the diocesan programs that are being run, plus post-ordination training, that's made available to you through that avenue. We explored the 499 with Pihopa Hori and all those wonderful translations and learning about some of those translators. And we also learned about the challenges that Māori had in the Pihopatanga for those translations. Some of them still very raw, some of them still very challenging for us. And when we look at the wider perspective of Te Reo Māori in our communities, we're still being challenged for the rightful use of our language, an official language of Aotearoa New Zealand. And the most recent, which is still very much in the news, as you'll know, is the use of fire and matua in schools. And that's created quite a stir. But the interviews this morning were really positive from the two people who were using it. Two training teachers, they decided to resign from the school, but what it's done is it's actually highlighted that there is a place for the use of Te Reo Māori in the school environment. So that's a wonderful thing that's come out of that. So these wonderful translations of the 499 that were shared with us, and you saw yours truly, her rendition of the Karanga Kaihapa that you saw last week. So if you're looking, it's on number 5 for that Karanga Kaihapa, the invitation to communion. Vicky, please.
I te wānau ai te kawaiti, ko tatonai so tinana I mahani I te o nai mai highway mai ki tonu a hawera tapu e mehi ana kia koutou kua karanga sea ni he tato Pro he manga matanga mo te au I roto I to ka goto cho hina koa kia highway mokamong me te atua te kai homai ia tu te oto tomanako ki te ka ho hanga ho I te rongo.
Well done. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you so much. This is the opening prayer on the 476. Thank you for that, Vicky. Wonderful. That really tested your R's and your NG's and had everything in it, all thrown at you all at once. But again, a reminder that this is the opening prayer on the 476, something you can open your services with. The words are in front of you, they're in the book on the left-hand side, and then you can revert back to the right-hand side English for the remainder. But it's a nice start to the service. Again, thank you, Vicky. We learned all the himene. These are all the himene that you learnt in the last few sessions. He honore, of course, sung right at the very beginning for those who came a little bit earlier. Te inui, te ariki, the Lord's Prayer. Most of you will have logged on by the time this was played. It's certainly in the recordings. Tamanako Māori, that was right at the very beginning of the series. Poi by Kingi Ihaka on page 154 of the Midday Prayers, a Midday Canticle. E toru ngā mea, which is the one I encourage you to learn. Again, only one person needs to learn the words and everyone just follows you. Psalm 23, that was sung by the Māori Anglican Club by the Māori Anglican Club. It's a beautiful, beautiful rendition of Psalm 23. And Hallelujah was sung by non-Māori, of course, for Alleluia, for our ascended Christ. So they're the ones that you've learnt in this series, and we'll be putting together that compilation of waiata for you. So it's just the waiata in slides, and we'll make that available to you. And of course, we went through the whole series of Land of the Long White Cloud. There were 7 of them that you listened to. And I'm really, really thankful for all the feedback that you offered. I know Jo Renderson has been going back and listening to some of the feedback of our previous sessions, and she's tickled pink, quite frankly, that it is a resource that's being used. And I think it's easy for them to produce something and put it up, but nobody does anything with it. So it's wonderful. You know that it's there, you know it's available, you can show it to friends, family, colleagues in your own context. But I just want to take us through the very first one that we had, which is only 5 minutes long. So, te tiro mai.
This year marks the 250th anniversary of the first face-to-face meeting between tangata whenua and European sailors.
Captain James Cook's ship Endeavour coming to our shores for Tuia 250, the reenactment of Cook's journey.
Critics say spending $23 million to mark such a divisive moment is wrong.
Many years ago, we probably wouldn't even been close to these conversations. It's hard as it is. There's people out there, I can just say the word treaty and their nostrils start to flare up. We are the problem. We always have been, since Cook arrived.
Yeah, who decided that we should do this?
I understand the resistance to commemorations of Cook's landing, or as some say, of that invasion and of that violence.
That term Cook discovered New Zealand just shocks me, that people could think that and not seeing that the land had already been very well discovered. Thank you.
I don't know about that word commemorations and what we're actually doing and when we're just celebrating and glorifying something, because I think that whole heroising is absolutely wrong.
He arrived all right, but what happened after that has been horrendous for Māori. And if we don't understand that in our hearts, then we'll never really move on as a nation, or as Pākehā, to put it in context as to the consequences of that.
Lead in the sun. Hello. Oh, hello, hello, hello. When I first made my way down to New Zealand in 1769, I was told to go and find the great unknown southern continent. Everyone was looking for it at the time, you know, the Dutch, the Spanish, the French, hate the French. And basically the way it worked was the first one to get there and pop their flag down wins, all theirs. Yeah, that's colonization. Pop your flag down, bam, that's mine.
Inherent in this coming together in the process of Cook is this process of colonisation, which is a violent process aimed at destroying Indigenous people.
I don't think non-Māori realise the impact of colonisation on Māori and on themselves, on ourselves. When we don't even have an awareness, how can we then begin to take honourable action?
My ancestors came here, we took over, we murdered and plundered, we set up an agreement to try and work together and ignored that, because you try to give yourself permission about the past. Don't blame me, I didn't take the land, I didn't stop the language, it's not my fault. What I've done is maintained my privilege by ignoring the past.
It takes strength to go past guilt. And maybe it's helpful to realise that it's a self-indulgent excuse, in a way. It's good to be guilty when you first find out, I think, but to see it as a stage and not to stay there, and to change from guilt to responsibility.
I still do kind of struggle with the whole Pākehā paralysis kind of thing, like, oh, what if I, do something wrong?
Even just labelling it is a really important step, because once you've labelled it, then you can get over it and you can actually do something useful with it.
We've got to find a better way, a more caring way. We have to challenge ourselves.
The treaty is inspiring to me. It's a blueprint for how we can work together. And so that for me is the vision.
If we honoured Te Treaty, we'd address so many of the issues that are facing this country in terms of the injustice and imbalance that we see. And so why wouldn't we do that? Because it'll create a better Aotearoa for everybody.
We have to be able to believe that we can do this. And history will show us that we can.
Anyway, that's all hindsight, To look back in the past, wonder what you could have done differently. Suppose I'm trying to think about how to incorporate hindsight into my day-to-day business, Sort of look back into the past and see what it informs in your actions in the future. Sort of like looking backwards in order to move forward. You're looking backwards in order to move forward. Right, so, okay, need a little bit of practice at that, don't I? Ha. Well, anyway, come on, let's go.
Apai. As is our usual tradition, of course, we're going to break our rooms. I'm going to give you 20 minutes. Yay! And here's some of the things that I'd like you to discuss, please. What, if any, is significant in the vows and hymn and liturgy that you can take away, that you take away with you? What else would you like to learn in the future to fill your ministry kete, to fill your personal kete? And any closing thoughts you may have on the long white cloud. So, nō reira, haere tonu, haere tonu. Oh, kia ora, Nikki. You've been left. Oh, okay. No, mai hoki mai. Welcome back. I hope we didn't cut you off in your conversations, into your very engaging debates and what have you. But anyway, 20 minutes is up. And so I invite now the speakers in each room, and I understand that Esther is the speaker for Group 1.
Thank you, Jacynthia. Group 1 said that the singing, we would like to have more singing, because singing helps Pākehā to learn the vowels and the words, and it's an easier way than just to learn phrases, although we would have liked to have learned more phrases. We know this is about liturgy and so forth, but we sometimes get still lost if we just hear a lot of Maori with no subtitles, if I can say that, with no English on that. But we also felt that we should encourage other people to use Maori, even if we mispronounce it, because Maori is very accommodating in helping us with the correct pronunciation. We really enjoyed the sessions because it helped us with pronunciation. And it's also encouraging seeing more younger people speaking the language fluently. And that's so great, because people our age and a bit younger not always can speak the language, because as children they weren't allowed to. With regards to the long white cloud, we found it challenging, as it was supposed to be. We found the different perspectives interesting. We did not know that it would be part of the program, and couldn't at first always understand what role it's supposed to play. But later on, we came to realize it added to the experience. Some of us felt that before this, we thought we were doing quite okay. And then we just go, nah, we're not. We've got a lot to learn still.
Thank you, Esther, and thank you, Group 1, for your wonderful feedback, and certainly things that I can take on board personally, and we can take on board as Taha Māori, and the things that have challenged you, the things that have comforted you, the things that you can aspire to. Thank you so much, Esther, in Group 1, or Breakout Room 1. Julian, please, for Breakout Room 2.
Well, I'll try to be quick, but I got to say everyone spoke very prolifically and very well. So I'll just start with all members felt the sense of the formation of becoming a whānau on this journey, on this journey of learning about Taha Māori, and also the significance of learning the vowels and the feeling that it can be taken with us. And many have talked about wanting to take this on to their ministry and church. Further, the Zoom experience itself has been good. One member said that it was a good example of Zoom being a great option, and felt the spirit coming into action through participation with the course, like saying the mihi, and again, that sense of whānau within the Zoom group growing within them. And that was echoed by many. Also, the articulation over the film, a very reasoned film with humor to diffuse tension that has been very good. They wanted to take this to their own church. They're inspired to make mistakes with vowels in the language portions and persist anyway. Many had done courses in the past or weren't able to commit to long courses or had been interrupted by the pandemic. But this course in general was articulated as a gift because it both helped with some pronunciation, was a length that was manageable through a medium that was manageable, and also helped people to articulate relationship between Pākehā and Māori. Now, some had talked about being lone voices in their family, but now they feel that they're able better to speak gently and non-oppositionally about this to members. And also there's a great appreciation finally of Bishop George and the incredible story of the translation, and Juliet Batten and her contribution. So in general, I would say a massive gift and this incredible sense of appreciation that was just echoed by every single member of our group. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for Julian. Thank you, Julian, and Group 2 for your whakaaro, for your thoughts, of course, which we take on board and can learn from. We all can learn from each other's comments, that sharing and that manaaki. Only yesterday I was delivering a talk about manaaki, the caring and respect of the other, be it human or non-human, actually. And so this, that's what I'm kind of getting from the flavour that you've just delivered there, Julian, is this manaaki that we have for each other.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And Group 3, I understand, is Kim. Paul's had to leave us.
Paul was on a boat bobbing up and down, and so he had to leave us. There was a lot of discussion, and I don't think I can do justice to everything, but I think what we got away from what was significant about it was for us was getting a picture and understanding of a window onto Te Reo, onto Maori spirituality, particularly through George's back translation, was very, very useful. To actually hear Te Reo being spoken properly with the right pausing and and being intimidated by that as well. That can we ever do that? But it became more approachable. To actually learning Te Reo was now more approachable. We know we could try and do it. The idea that we got from the liturgy that showed us the Marae protocol was most useful and well appreciated. The offerings you gave us about using Te Reo in the service, like the taranga, that kind of thing was has been used and picked up, and that was most helpful. The feedback, actually now knowing and hearing public broadcasting, and so we're aware of what's being spoken on the TV and on the radio, and the pronunciation of name. Someone said no one ever thought that the Christchurch and Dunedin actually had Maori names to them. You know, now that we are learning that, which is good. They appreciated the structure that you gave us with using the prayer book, because it provided us with a way to understand what we were doing, a strong foundation to understand what we were doing, and we could, and with the translations available in the prayer book, we could actually see what we were doing, and that was most useful. And we were challenged to speak more Te Reo in our daily life, and someone was suggesting sitting in a car and practicing the street names as you go along, which I thought was quite nice. The long white cloud, I think that we all found it was shocking, it was confrontational, it was disruptive, and it caused us to reflect on who we are and what we are now. And the comment made that we need to accept the past and not let it constrain us, make a personal decision to move on, move forward, and to influence others in what we're doing, particularly the younger people. And we looked around the room, and most of us were of the more mature age end of the scale. And we thought, how do we influence younger people? Because we actually do have some power in doing that, and to have courage to do that. The balanced views that were offered in the presentation, particularly the young men who were, I was quite delighted by the fact that the young people actually had a view and were able to say what they wanted to say, which was quite appropriate, was very helpful and very educational. And finally, we had a comment from someone older than me, I think, who was expressing the 1950s experience of actual apartheid in New Zealand, which I can't remember, but he was saying that in his time, there was divisions of where people could go if you're Māori or non-Māori, which I think was something I wasn't quite aware of. And it was highlighted when the Springbok tour the All Blacks didn't include Maoris in it, so it was the 1960s started that. It was a very rounded discussion, and I really want to thank the people. It was very interesting, and I appreciated it.
Oh, thank you, Kim, and thank you, Group 3, for that, for your insights and your thoughts, and very extensive thoughts around those particular subjects, and in fact the whole series, really. Thank you. When we talk about the constant use of Te Reo nowadays, and it is becoming more prolific, and I have no doubt that you've all become very aware of that. Radio New Zealand, or national radio, of course, is one that is just, it's normalised. It's normalised, so it's no big deal anymore. They just do it. They introduce themselves that way in the section in which they're presenting. Television New Zealand Breakfast is another one that's doing it. It's helped hugely by Jenny May being one of the hosts, a co-host with John Campbell. So, you know, that avenue of normalising. I think that's a language that I used right back at the very beginning about normalising. That apartheid is a really, you know, strong point. And of course, they've just declared what's happening in Myanmar as a form of apartheid. And so that's really shocking. And Springbok tour, I just want to point out that, you know, we were there, Te Hahi Mihingari was there, but also ecumenically, about speaking out about, and the cross was there, the Melanesian cross was there, and many of those who have now left us were part of that activism, let's say. But one thing I do want to point out to all of you really is that right from the very beginning, it was about creating, Taha Māori was about creating a portal or a place or a whare, or you know, we're using Zoom. This is our marae, as it were, our virtual marae, where you felt safe, that was really important to me, is that you felt safe and you felt respected. And I pointed that out right from the outset, that this is what Taha Māori is all about, that we were to encourage each other and walk with each other on the journey as a mark of manaaki and tautoko, to support aroha, to love one another and to help somewhere along the way. And I thank you all for all the feedback that you've offered over the 7 Zoom sessions in this series. And, you know, you've stayed the course. I've said this before. There were possibly times, certainly in the land of the long white cloud, where you perhaps just found that a little bit distasteful, and that's okay. Some people may have found that distasteful, but you did stay the course, and you have engaged in the korero and the whakaaro around land of the long white cloud. And right at the very beginning, I think I mentioned that it was Pākehā talking to Pākehā. It wasn't Māori talking to Pākehā, and the narrative may have been very different if it was Māori talking to non-Māori. So thank you so much for engaging with that. I'm going to move us on now to a particular section that you might all find quite entertaining.
Kia ora, tēnā koutou.
Kia ora.
Tēnā koutou whānau.
Kia ora, tēnā koutou.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, tēnā koutou.
Kia ora, tēnā koutou.
Tēnā koutou katoa.
Kia ora. Kia ora. Kia ora, tēnā koutou.
Kia ora koutou, tēnā koutou.
Kia ora, tēnā koutou.
Tēnā koutou katoa.
Tēnā koutou. Ko Sarah tōku ingoa.
Ko Nikki Freita tōku ingoa.
Ko Jacynthia Murphy tōku ingoa.
Ko Pihopa Rospe tōku ingoa.
Ko Brenda tōku ingoa.
Ko Phil Austin tōku ingoa.
Ko Wiki Te Reo tōku ingoa.
Ko Rihari tōku ingoa.
Ko Alison Barge tōku ingoa.
Ko Kim Benton tōku ingoa.
Ko Margaret tōku ingoa.
Ke Diana tōku ingoa.
Ko Kay Brightly tōku ingoa.
Ko Morris family tōku ingoa.
Ko Julian Reid tōku ingoa.
Noa toa ahilti oku tupuna.
No ingarani oku tupuna.
No hokianga me horahora oku tupuna.
No witana me witirana oku tupuna.
No Ngāti Mutunga me Ngāti Kiriti oku tupuna.
No London Ingarangi oku tupuna.
Nā ena rangi oku tupuna.
No Ingarani no Koterana oku tupuna. No Koterana oku tupuna.
No Whirika ki te tonga oku tupuna.
No Matamata oku tupuna.
No Scotland oku tupuna.
No Aotearoa, UK, Korea, Japan oku tupuna.
No Yorkshire, England oku tupuna. Me Akarana mai I te 1840.
No I tini pāra ki Kotirana oku tupuna.
E te noho o ki Pānera, Tamaki Makaurau.
Tamaki Makaurau.
Kei te noho au ki Tamaki Makaurau.
Tamaki Makaurau. Ki Tamaki Makaurau.
Oni hangi tamaki makawa.
Tamaki Makaurau.
Tamaki Makaurau. Tamaki Makaurau. Tamaki Makaurau.
Ki te naho o ki Karaka.
Ring speech te tianga.
Kei te noho au ko te whanwhangarei.
Kei te noho au ki Waiuku.
Kia kaha, Te Reo Māori.
Kia kaha, Te Reo Māori. Tino pai.
Kia kaha, Te Reo Māori.
Kia kaha te Reo Māori.
Kia kaha, Te Reo Māori.
Kia kaha, Te Reo Māori. Kia kaha,
Te Reo Māori.
Kia kaha, Te Reo Māori.
Kia kaha, Te Reo Māori.
Kia kaha, Te Reo Māori.
Kia kaha, Te Reo Māori.
Kia kaha, Te Reo Māori.
Kia kaha, Te Reo Māori.
Kia kaha, Te Reo Māori.
Kia kaha, tō reo Māori.
Nō reira whānau mā. Kia kaha, tō reo. There you have it. Compilation of my mihi, a culmination of everything that we've picked up through our 7 series sessions. And I cannot express how proud of you I am. I think that's really great. That paralysis just wasn't there. And you've demonstrated that by making those contributions. So thank you, kia ora, ngā mihi to you all. Proud of us as a Taha Māori rōpū, a Taha Māori group. Te kotahitanga is a way of saying that we did it as one. We were one. We moved with my mihi as one. We learnt, we gathered, and we became one in this compilation. Whanaungatanga, another uara, as we call it, a value. Whanaungatanga about belonging to a particular family, belonging to a particular whānau. And we do that all the time with our parish communities, with our congregational communities. That's our whānau. And so Taha Māori also created an environment of whanaungatanga and manaakitanga that support and care of the other and supporting, you know, lifting people up to tackle some of the challenges, to tackle some of the fears. And we've certainly demonstrated it amongst each other over these weeks. So we'll now go on to say our karakia, which we have been learning. I don't have a volunteer at this stage. Would anybody like to give it a go? Just unmute yourself and go.
E te atua kaharawa, e tūwhera ana ngā ngākau katoa ki a koe, e mōhiotia ana ngā hia katoa, e kore hoki e ngaro i a koe te mea huna. Whakahangia iho tau wairua tapu. Hei whakamā i ngā whakaaro o mātou ngākau. Kia tino aroha ai mātou ki a koe. Kia tika ai te whakanui i tau ingoa tapu. Ko ihu karaiti, nei tō mātou ariki. Āmene.
Āmene. Kia ora kararaina. Tēnā koe. Karu mātou ia te karaiti. Tui, 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 tui a mātou. Tui a ki te mamai. Tui a ki te tūmanako. Tui, tui, tui a ki te ora. Tēnā koutou katoa. Ko te mihi tuatahi ki te atua. Ko ia te timatanga me te mutunga o ngā mea katoa. Ko te mihi tuarua ki te hunga mate. Haere, haere, haere atu rā. Ko te mihi tuatoru ki a tātou he hunga ora. Tēnā koutou katoa. E te whānau, e mihi ana ki a koutou. Ngā tāngata e hia ana ki te ako. Mā tātou katoa e ngaki te purapura i ruia nei e tō tātou kaumātua kuia. Kore hoki e oti i te tangataka kotahi te mahi. Engari me ohu te mahi ka oti ai. Ko ia nei tā onamata tū whakaro. Tāne he wāhine, te iti te rahi rānei, me pā katoa ki te mahi Taha Māori. Whānau, salutations to you all who had the desire to learn. We all will cultivate the seeds sown by our elders, not by one person alone, but the work should be done as a working rōpū group so that it is completed. That was the attitude in former times, men, women, the lowly and the important too. They should all participate in the task Taha Māori. Ka karanga nei au ki ngā tāngata katoa e ngākau tikana, e ngākau pono ana, kia maia, kia kaha. Kia ki te mea tika me te pono. Kaua e utua te kino ki te kino, engari mana ki tia. Ngā hunga e tū kino ana i a koe. Ko riro mai nei i a koutou te mārama. Tō haina ki te ao. E ngā mea tino nui e matia ana e ngā tāngata katoa. Ko te ora roa, ko te hari, ko te tūmanako me te aroha. I call upon all people who are true and faithful. Be courageous and be strong. Hold fast to what is right. Do not pay evil for evil, but bless those who do wrong by you. You have received the light. Now give it to the world. The greatest things needed by all people is a long life, happiness, hope, and love. Kia tau mai anō kia koutou, ngā manaakitanga a te atua kahara, a te matua a te tama, a te wairua tapu. Āmine.
Mai te rangi ki te whenua, mai whenua ki te rangi. Pai here te a tātou ki te ara, pai here te a tātou ki te rangi Māori e. Pai here te a tātou ki te whakapono e.
Shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen. Amen.
He honore, he gloria, he hallelujah ki te atua. He maungarongo, he atapai, he manaki ki runga i te mato te whenua. He hakaro pai, he hakaro kui, he hakaro roa ki ngā tangata katoa. Nō reira ki a tau, ki a tātou katoa. Te atawhai o tō tātou ariki o iu kalaiti, me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhinga tahitanga, ki te wairua tapu, ake, 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 amen.
Diana, please.
Heri aurunga I te araha, heri aurunga I te rangamari. Amine. Hakareri maturunga I ingoa a te karati. Kororia ki a atua.
Kia ora. Thank you. There you have it. Ko mutu ta tātou hui I tēnei rā. And so anything you'd like to offer us, please continue to email us on tahamaori@aucklandanglican.org.nz. Thank you. By all means, stay on and chat if you like. You know how it goes. But this is the last session, just letting you know that we'll send you an email to let you know what's happening in the future. We will be back again this year. It's just a matter of, I encourage you to send us some feedback, send us anything. A survey will go to you, and then that'll give us some idea of what you'd like to learn in the future for the coming sessions later on this year. Anō reire te whānau, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora.